We are live.
Okay, great. Welcome back. This is Senate Institutions. It is January 29th, 2026. And our next item is to look at section 16 of the capital bill. And that's the Vermont Historical Society section. And Steve Perkins, the executive director, is here. And welcome. Thank you for being here. And I think you know who we are.
I do.
Okay, wonderful. So if you just want to give us your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So it's good to be back here again, and we're grateful that we're included in the Investment Act here. This really is the last piece of critical HVAC equipment on the History Center in Barre. So through both private funds, federal funds, and a combination of state funds over the past 5 years, we've upgraded all of the HVAC system. This is probably the most critical unit. It doesn't look that critical. That's the best picture I could get of it for you. We call it a Munters unit. That's similar to how we used to call photocopiers Xerox machines. So the technology was created by the Munter Corporation in Germany. They still make the best units. That's what this is. So it's a combination climate control unit that does heat, cooling, and very precise dehumidification and humidification all at the same time.
I thought when I first saw it, it was the Munsters. So I didn't know.
I was thinking
lots of the clarification.
And I honestly don't know if there's really supposed to be an apostrophe in there, or if the last name was Munters or Munter with apostrophe S. But
It's 13 Mockingbird Lane.
this is what the machine does. It protects a portion of the storage facilities within the History Center that we call the vault. That's another piece of extraneous history of this very old organization. As I think you all know, we were in the museum is in the pavilion, but up until about 2000, all of our operations were in the pavilion. They were in the basement and the entire first floor. What happened in 1992? With Montpelier flooded, the entire basement flooded. Actually, a bucket brigade, as it were, of legislators went down. The General Assembly was adjourned, and everybody went down and helped bring all of the artifacts and papers and everything out of the basement, and nothing was lost to that flood. It's why we located our storage facilities and library to Barre after that.
A side fact, I did the study on all the state buildings, and I told them that's what was going to happen to the archives.
So we're not there, which is good. And with the flooding a couple of years ago, the building looked horrible, but we received no damage in the museum because we were above the flood level and not in the basement. That basement, if you're still to go in there today, has a vault, like a huge bank vault, big door. It's where we kept our most sensitive documents. They chose to keep the name. So as I use the word vault, it's really the most sensitive area of our collection storage, and it relates back to when we actually had a vault. Again, the pictures aren't great. What I more want to talk about is what is housed in that vault. It actually used to be the cafeteria of the old Spalding High School. That's compressible shelving. So the shelving slides together, and it houses, as I said here, a whole bunch of things. Added some highlights to my written testimony of what is in there, just to give you an idea. It also, I think I went one too many slides. No, it's in there. It does also house the most sensitive items of the state library. And the state library is co-located with us in this facility, so utilizes this machine. Just in relation to some of the lists of collections in here, Coolidge family papers, those are a couple boxes. I believe there's 17 boxes of Coolidge family papers within the collection, and some of the historical film that we have in our collection, original prints of some of the earliest film and audio done in Vermont.
Your opinion.
Yeah.
Most sensitive document that you have that there.
So most
Everybody's going to have different opinions, but your opinion.
So there's kind of two answers to that. One is, what is the most important document that I would grab in a natural disaster and get out of there? Is actually a box of documents that I brought here today. to show you a few of those documents. They're acts and resolves from 1775 to 1791. And they're some of the only remaining documents that we have relating to the Republic period of Vermont, because in 1856, this building burned down. Guess where our archives were? This building. And so these documents are what could be, these documents are what could be cobbled together. You know, they were in personal collections or whatnot that could come back, and the Vermont Historical Society collected them in the mid-19th century. Now, most sensitive are some of our earliest film prints. Those are the most sensitive because they're on a type of film where if it gets too hot, it'll actually catch on fire. And so from a climate standpoint, that's actually the most sensitive item in there. Cool. You're welcome. A few pictures of some of the items that I talked about. So this on the left, the Chambers Atlas. And so this is by a British naval officer with the last name of Chambers in the 1750s, charted Lake Champlain for the Royal Navy. And he created two atlases. This is one of them. So it's hand drawn with hand lettered information. And it's a navigational atlas for the entire length of Lake Champlain. It's just open to a page. And so he gives his soundings and drawings of the lake, and then actually navigation advice on the following page. That's one of the items that's in there. 1750s. The daguerreotype on the right is the only known image of the second State House, the one that burned. So you can see the saucer-shaped dome on the top. Really the whole central core of that structure burned, and then it was replaced with what we have today. The Vermont Historical Society and the State Library, which together housed all of the documents of the state, were co-located in that dome. And almost all of the documents were lost to that fire. So much of what we have, what the State Library has, and then later on archives, had to be collected from external repositories or private collectors, that sort of thing. Let me show you. So I brought with me a couple of items that I find fascinating and are exceedingly rare. So I'm going to pass this one around. Feel free to, it's part of our library collection. You can look through it. It's been conserved, so it's in fairly good condition. This is a slave narrative of Jeffrey Brace. Jeffrey Brace was kidnapped from Africa as a teenager. He was enslaved in Connecticut. He was an enslaved soldier in the French and Indian War. He served in the Continental Navy in the American Revolution, which gave him his freedom, and he moved to Vermont. And he settled in southern Vermont, Poultney, Vermont, and then ultimately moved to Georgia and Georgia, Vermont.
Are those his words?
Those are his words.
Where can you find that outside of that book? Is it somewhere where you can read the text of that?
There are transcripts that you can find, so you can do that. There are two original of that printing left, and that's one of two left.
You don't
I
need
would
to
love to
touch
know
it.
what that was. If there was a transcript, if you could direct us to
I can send that to you. Well, we have it in our library. There was a scholar from the University of Wisconsin who did their dissertation on Jeffrey Brace and his words.
Jeffrey Brace.
Jeffrey Brace.
BRACE.
BRAC. That's the easiest thing to look up. You can read on the count of Boiroru Rinch is what he said his actual name was.
So if we were to go on it, we could probably find it on there to read.
You can
that.
find it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep.
No, fine.
But it's a great book published by the University of Wisconsin. It has her analysis and kind of in modern words what he said, and then a full transcript of his words. So yeah, two of those, but just kind of talking about the rarity of what we're protecting here. But we will allow people to use it. So that's the other piece, is that we provide access to it, that we allow people to look through it, right?
Wow.
And then the other piece that I brought in to take a look at, we were here a few weeks ago. I saw some of you up in the card room, and we did have the act from the U.S. Congress admitting Vermont to the Union as the 14th state, signed by Thomas Jefferson. What we had to do as a republic is we had to meet in convention and accept the United States Constitution. So this here is that document. of the Republic of Vermont meeting a convention at Bennington and accepting the Constitution of the United States in 1791 and signed by the convention members.
Wow.
So just two examples. I thought it's helpful to bring the actual things
Yeah.
to talk about what we're preserving with this piece of equipment.
And you have us drive carefully when you have this in your car.
I do. I brought it over today. It's in its special box and it'll go right back
But
when we're done here.
can I take a picture?
But like I said, these artifacts are available to the public, so you can come visit the History Center, come to our library, and our librarians will make these available.
This could be something to have at the Bennington Monument at some point when we're doing fundraising.
And that's also another thing that sets us apart from archives. We all operate slightly different ways. So state archives is not allowed to lend artifacts.
Oh.
We will lend artifacts to other suitably vetted institutions, and we do lend to the Bennington Museum on a regular
Oh,
basis.
okay. Very cool.
That's what I've got on the Munters unit. If there are any questions about the machine, how it works, it's a pretty straightforward.
How much money do you need?
And you know what's amusing? It is like a super precise number because we took the bid process and then we submitted the bid to the budget office and then they put the exact amount in. So that's what Representative Emmons was commenting on. It's 566,720.
So you've already gone out to bid for it?
We have, yeah.
Oh, that's good. And is it a Munters? Is it the actual?
It is the Munters, yeah.
Okay,
What
good.
came in the best was the Munters because there are a couple of the units that are in country and they came in before tariffs. So we will be able to get one of those if we can move ahead quickly.
Great.
On the
Great.
project, which was another piece of trying to push it forward. The unit that's there now is working, so all of this stuff is protected, but it's so far out of date, we can't get parts for it. So if it were to break, you don't really have backup. So this will be installed so we could do some piping around it as well.
Wonderful. Now, there's some other agency that's trying to get funding earlier than would happen in this bill, but are you comfortable with the schedule of this bill?
I'm very happy that it's in this
Okay.
bill.
Okay.
Because it was in for next biennium.
Oh, okay, good.
And so the sooner we can get it done, the better, and also being able to secure one of those units.
Terrific. All right.
Very-
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Show and tell was really,
Do you want to see Munters unit or do you want to save
Sure.
time and move to the next, or not
Well-
Munters unit, the water mitigation?
since you're here, let's just see a little.
Figure it out, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you funded this last year and we're very grateful for it. So as you know, there were water issues in Barry a
Yes.
couple of years ago. We were affected, we weren't in aerial flooding, so we didn't, the water didn't rise into our building. We're on a hill, we're on the side of a hill, but there was issues with water. We're on the side at the top.
Yeah.
Water coming down. We had issues with water in the basement, penetrating the foundation, and then the whole drainage system got clogged with mud. As in many things that Barry did. So we've been working on this project right now. So anyone who drove through Barry, the building is under construction. So we mobilized in the middle of November. That's the scaffolding that's starting to go up for the masonry work. What we actually started with first was the foundation. We wanted to get all of that work done before the frost came in. This is the back of the building. I'm going to refer to the front and the back, just it's easier than cardinal directions for us. And this shows they're starting to do the trenching back here. It was very difficult to go down terribly deep behind the building because you can see the hillside right behind us, which is part of the problem with the water, but also it's unsafe to do trenches too big without retaining walls. The guys did a great job. Here's the front of the building. It's a close up, but it shows you some of the foundation and some of the drains. The drains do date to 2000. Those were new 25 years ago, but some of them did fail and we couldn't clean them. Just, sending rotor for lack of a better term in there to clean them out. And so this is the excavation in the front. It's a granite, rough cut granite foundation as one would expect to find in Barry. And they used a spray on waterproofing material when the work was redone. Some of that waterproofing material did fail, so we found areas of failure as they trenched the building, out around the building. Just kind of for scale, how deep they had to go to get to the drainage. That's a normal sized man.
Yeah,
Here's a picture of some of the piping. We were able to ultimately clean out most of the existing drain pipe once we were able to uncover it, which was great. We did replace what needed to be replaced. It's hard to get the camera in there. It's where one of the pipes was cut, and you can see the solidified mud down in the corner, which is what we were running into in the drainage. They put in, rather than going with a spray on, they put a solid barrier, that's EPDM, rubber roof basically, and it's put on kind of like shingles to cover the foundation and then backfilled. In the rear of the building, we cleaned out the existing drain. They couldn't get all the way down to it, but we were able to clear it out. So they put a secondary French drain on top of that drain, so a little bit higher up. And then filled with a material called flowable fill that allows the water to flow around it, and also regraded that entire section so it all flows in one direction. It used to flow in two directions, and that was a benefit that we didn't know until we got into the project. Just some pictures of them filling it back in. There's the gravel in the back, and then the front. You can see how they, I call it shingling, but it's kind of two layers of EPDM layered on top of each other there. This is about where it is now. Landscaping will be done in spring, obviously, when we can do that. A little bit of decorative gravel. Roofing was the next piece that was phased in. So as they finished up with the foundation work, the roofers came in. God bless them. They were doing this the week after Christmas and the first week of January, up on the roof, replacing the worst of the shingles. The front half of the building is set as 1892. The back half of the building is 1914. First half, the 1892 is where most of the problems are. The construction is just different. They removed outdated shingles that were put on, I think, as an emergency in the 1990s before we moved in, but after the school district moved out. And so we removed those, and it turned out there was no ice guard or anything under them. So we put in ice guard, proper sheathing, and new commercial grade shingles, about 2/3 of that roof. They're doing the turret right there, which I think is a little spectacular.
so it's not slate.
It is not slate. It was slate in 1892, and I don't know when it ceased being slate. At some point while it was a school. And my guess is, as a school, could they afford to replace the slate? Probably not. It might. The back part of the building is just a flat roof. It looks like it's not from a distance. It looks like it's all peaked. It's actually a flat roof. And there's the decorative turret roof being covered with ice guard now, and then the shingles so we don't get the leaking. And this is finished. That's the finished turret now, and then you can see where the roof has been replaced around those turrets at the front of the building. Beautiful Richardsonian Romanesque building, lots of turrets, lots of crenellations. Nobody likes to maintain them. Lots of crooks and crannies for water, and so a lot of flashing. They were able to reuse most of the copper flashing because it was a nice thickness. There was a small flat roof on the building. There used to be a light, look at atrium in between the two buildings, the old building, the new building, that had been subsumed within it, with a skylight on it. The skylight was removed at some point before we moved in, and a flat roof was put on it. And I think if anyone who's ever worked covered over skylights, they always leak, and that was a problem there. So this was completely removed all the way down to, that's actually the interior decking of that space, and then rebuilt up. And then a new roof, insulated roof. And what I didn't get on was the final layer of EPDM because they were rushing to get it on before it started snowing. And they did, and it's all sealed in and it doesn't leak. The last piece that is ongoing right now is the masonry work, which is also will be an ongoing issue for us over the years. Bricks are high maintenance things. This building is not a masonry building. This building is a wood frame structure that is covered with bricks. And so you can see a picture of it there with one brick removed. You can see just the wooden wall. It's brick, wood, plaster. That's it. No insulation. So the offices are a little chilly.
Yeah.
And so that causes problems. Bricks will fall down. And I don't know if anyone saw that wall fell down in Winooski a few weeks ago. I saw that and I was like, oh, that could happen to us because it's just the bricks are on there and the bricks are held on with iron nails that are through the mortar joints into the wood behind there. And of course, what happens to iron that was put in 1892, it rusts away. So there's nothing holding the bricks on. And also the whole thing can come down. This is the peak of the building where they've removed all of the decorative bricks. You can see a few of the iron nails above the top course of bricks. They're all being replaced with stainless steel fasteners. And there's the mason working, removing damaged bricks and cutting out grout lines to do a replacement on that. They've finished that part of the work and they're now starting with pointing. Like 2 days ago, just started with pointing. That's wet mortar lines. And that's where they are now. They plan to be another 2 to 3 weeks, finishing up that. And then they'll demobilize, everybody comes back in April. They'll do a bit more brickwork on the towers themselves, and we'll have landscaping in to, put the plantings back, and the gardens back, and make the building look beautiful. So just thought I'd give you an update on that. I know we only had like 10 minutes to talk last year, so it's going well and it's on budget.
Good. It's a big project.
It's a huge
Really
project.
significant.
Yeah, and a lot more. I mean, that's the bricks that we're just doing a small piece of the front. The whole building's got to be done at some point.
But all the drainage and everything, that's really important. So
Drainage is done, systems are done. I'm very happy with that.
you have a good maintenance program, I suspect.
We do now. We
Good.
do now. We do now. We're developing a good maintenance program now. And I just, the organization is always fiscally stressed,
Sure.
always has been.
Always will be.
And the first thing to go, right, is regular maintenance. And
Yeah.
then you're talking about deferred maintenance. So we have a plan. We have a 10-year plan. Part of what you're seeing here is on that 10-year plan. So
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
you're welcome.
Field trip.
After you send me the dates and then where the pub
Pub trivia, I will send
Yeah.
that off.
would be awesome.
And I can send a link to the Jeffrey Grace.
Yeah.
I would like
And
all
then send it all, yeah,
absolutely.
or to Kennedy.
Yeah, I'll send it to Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. if you could do that.
One more time.
This one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have the committee, when you have time.
What do you,
Come out and visit.
No,
do you have much, history, written history or, recreated written history of Abenaki? And much with that. I guess the hardest thing to find is to find, an Indian's no matter where you're at, no matter what part of the country, a written history of what it was like in the times when they were here, almost first person narrated.
Yeah.
There are some up on the St. Lawrence Seaway and white people's version of what they saw.
Yeah.
But you get the version of the Abenaki.
You do have a little bit of that in
We do some in the museum. I mean, we have this published, so, we have the work on it, but the anthropologists. So yeah, we have a white perspective on a lot of it.
Right.
That's been done over the years. We have copies that are in the Canadian National Archives have a fair amount of early French material. And so that French material, it's not an Abenaki telling, their life story. It's a French voyageur telling what they see.
Right, saw what they saw, the
But that's
things of corn.
Yeah, so about as close as we can get. I mean, we do have kind of oral history books that are written in an oral history tradition. So they're written by an author, say 40 years ago, but it's like my grandmother's grandmother's, and that oral history that's passed down and was put on paper. But a direct like this,
Right.
right? Nobody, as far as I know, interviewed an Abenaki who lived in this area and transcribed it into a book like this. So the best we can do. It's certainly scholarship that needs to be done and a whole in the scholarship.
Well, now you have a
Thank you.
safe place to put the books.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. You're welcome.
Okay, so we find to start us a little bit early if you all would like.
We actually leave it for early, that would be helpful to you all first.
Okay.
We're doing a 250th celebration of the Declaration of Independence this summer, and we have a Supreme Court gallery. We have a traveling exhibit from the Library of Congress, but it would be great to have Vermont.
Perfect, yes.
So we're gonna-
Wonderful.
That would be great.
And it happened in institution.
Right.
Okay. All right, so are we ready? Everyone good?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we will go to section 14, judiciary. We have Terry Corstones and
Red Mountain.
thank
Thank
you.
you, our Chief of Finance and Administration.
Yes.
Judiciary. Okay, thank you for letting us appear out turn, if you will. As I explained to Ken yesterday, we were in house corrections in these institutions yesterday, and Representative Evans suggested that we contact you regarding one aspect of the budget adjustment capital bill that we testified about. This has to do with the ethics county courthouse.
I
And
shared with the chair about where it was on the bill and showed her where that was. So yeah, so it's very nice to have you in.
oh, great. Well, we just did want to give a brief overview because it was unexpected and that's why we're in the adjustment phase. But if you recall, we had 3.6 million was approved for the overall project. And it was anticipated to commence in the fall and actually finish up in the spring. But in the course of designing the sprinkler system, which is required with the expansion, there's no sprinkler system in the hell, that's in some limitations that's required. They did testing and just confirmed that the local water system in Guildhall would accommodate the sprinkler system and learned from the pressure test results that there was a big question as to whether or not that was the case, whether it would support it or not. And we met with the Guildhall Select Board to try to get confirmation that it would be, and it appeared that it would not support the pressure needed. So there was a design for an alternate system, which consists of a holding tank, basically, with a pump to properly in the event that fire suppression measures are necessary. And the cost for that is $500,000, which is above and beyond the original estimate for the overall project. And when we explained that to Representative Emmons, she suggested that we notify you of that sooner rather than later. And one related issue is the contractors who are going to begin last fall. It's unclear whether they'll be able to stay unless there's some kind of assurance that, yes, this is going to go forward. So she mentioned a letter of intent possibly. So that's why we're here, just to explain that to you. And then we're happy to come back with BGS for the usual kind of course, but she just suggested we ask if it was possible to at least alert you to this situation, the background, and so that's why we're here today.
Right, and so just, we don't have our alleged counsel here, but my understanding, a letter of intent would be from, the two committees saying that we expect that the 500,000 will be available at X time. And actually, if you have a, format that you would prefer, it would be helpful to send that to us.
That's great. We'd be happy to do that. And we can consult with the director of the project, find out exactly what's needed and try to send it to him.
Yes, please, and then we'll
It's very helpful.
And then he'll get it.
Recommended that I had the money in there, and as the chair and I were talking years past, that you've been in here, and it's, you have to go kind of scrub for that. It's a little bit tough.
yeah.
So, I just want to put a plug in for the Essex County Courthouse. Of course, it's in my district. I've been here for a while. I've seen massive amounts of dollars being spent on courthouses. And I'm proud about a little bit amount that we're spending up there to bring this courthouse and not changing character, because if you walk into this courthouse, you would thought that you were walking in to the 1940s or 50s or 60s. And great care has been brought into this design to keep it in that way, so it doesn't dominate the surrounding areas of where it's at. But it also, in my opinion, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I can see that it's bringing this up to date of 30, 40, 50 years or whatever, making it modern for a small amount of dollars. So I'm proud about that, being frugal and being in an area that's where it's at. But the amount of cases that go through this little place is amazing. But you know, anytime you're talking about dispensing justice, and that there's a lot of justice to be dispensed, I don't know if that's the bragging right or not, but a lot goes on there in a small community, and I'm proud that it's not an exorbitant amount of money. It's enough, but it's not an exorbitant amount of money to continue on. So thank you.
And it's really modernized, especially from a security perspective. It's lacking any kind of a holding cell or
It just is.
so this would be really, heads and shoulders above where we are.
It's better than a cute design. It's a very efficient design that will actually grow with the community, as the community's there. So I'm very proud of what's going on up there.
One example of the scarcity of space, and this is connected with an adjoining property that's available. Right now, when jurors come for a jury panel, when they have to have a large number to draw upon, they are down the road at a town office and then walk through whatever the weather is to get to the courthouse because there's no space.
Right, I remember they didn't have restrooms and things, but the project is still going forward, right?
Well,
This money makes the project.
Right.
we're not even, oh, go ahead.
Well, we're in this design phase with that project. We did some work in the swing state, which is the town meeting hall next door to the sheriff's department. We had to do some work there in order.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but we couldn't really break ground on the connector part unless we knew we could finish the project. And there were sprinkler systems part of that requirement.
Cause you wouldn't be getting an occupancy permit.
No.
Right.
Okay, and so what will be your schedule now that it looks like will, finance the,
But the hope is with a letter of intent, they could start work on the interior. And then when the money's available in terms of the actual, I guess, tank and pump house.
Actually, it's really dependent on whether when the ground
Oh,
defrosts, that's when they can start the excavation work on the tank. But they could start earlier than that inside, do the renovations.
okay, so you're mostly on target for schedule or?
We're hoping to get this done last fall.
Okay.
And we were racing a little bit against the weather
Yeah.
and kept bumping into things, so we did slip into the spring.
Alright, but that's not your fault because if
we didn't
the
anticipate.
sprinkler issue is huge. Alright,
Their water system comes from New Hampshire across the road. There were just kind of complicating factor, uncomplicating factor,
okay,
prevented that original plan to work out.
okay. So anybody else have questions? And thank you, Senator Ingles, for your
Well, no,
Comments?
I thank the committee, very much so, kind of important piece in the Northeast Kingdom, and yeah, very proud of what's going on there. So thank you.
good. Okay, so I think we'll take a vote for this one, just so that, well, let me think. We will get the letter. Actually, I'd like to see the language. So we'll have a straw poll, but I don't see a problem.
Okay. And I should be able to get you that language tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in to see Greg.
I forgot
Okay,
to-
we are adjourned.
I forgot I usually give them citizens.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
was wondering about the cookies. There we are.
Famous. Famous.
Are we done? Are we off?